Welcome back, Pocket Watch, Episode 4, Mickey 17, the show where I don't know the runtime of a movie and count how many times I check my phone or my watch to see if a movie's gas or ass. If you like the video, like the video. Shout out Nick Merckx. Follow me at Indian Jones on Letterboxd for more movie content. Trying my best not to keep my expectations too high for this movie, but it's going to be tough with the three GOATs, Robert Pattinson, Bong Joon-ho, and Steven Yeun, but should be a fun watch either way. I'm super curious to see how this movie turns out because it's the largest budget Bong Joon-ho's had ever at 118 million. I think his next highest was Okja at 50 million and Snowpiercer at 40 million. And Parasite was only $11 million, which is crazy to think about. This is his highest by more than double in terms of budget. So let's see if it holds up and is able to stand its ground against his best, which I think is Parasite. I think everyone thinks that, but we'll see. All right, for my predictions, I honestly have no gauge for how long this movie is going to be, so I'm predicting a runtime of 2 hours flat. And for the pocket watch checks, I'm predicting that I only check the time once during it. Like I said before, I have high hopes for this movie, which isn't fair to it, but off to the movie. We're back at AMC after 2.5 weeks off. I think it's the longest stretch of me not going to a theater since November. So it feels good to get back and get the best water ever. AMC water.
We come to this place for magic. We come to AMC theaters to laugh.
Gotta get that AMC Investor Connect free icy.
To care. Because we need that. All of us. That indescribable feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. Oh, I can't describe it. And we go places we've never been before. Not just entertained, but somehow
Nice.
rewarded.
Just got back from watching Mickey 17. I think this is the funniest movie I've seen this year so far, or at least it made me laugh the most. Highly recommend going to the theater to check it out. Everyone should be grateful that Robert Pattinson made all the money he needed from the Twilight series and now can just chill and make movies that we all like. But anyways, let's get to the pocket watch checks. I predicted this movie would have a runtime of 2 hours flat, and it ended up having a runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes. So I wasn't too far off there. I predicted there would be one pocket watch check, but it ended up having 0 pocket watch checks. The pacing throughout this movie was great, and you don't feel the runtime at all. The first half of this movie I thought was perfect. I think you can make a case for some slight plot cohesion issues in the second half, but in terms of enjoying myself at the theater, that didn't bother me at all. I am going to get in some light spoilers that aren't super plot related before I rate this film, so if you want to skip ahead. I'll try and put a timestamp in, but stick around till the end. Since this movie had 0 pocket watch checks, I'm going to do a top 5 ranking of my personal favorite Robert Pattinson performances. Robert Pattinson's performance in this was amazing and is definitely the standout of the movie. It's probably one of my favorite performances of someone playing 2 different people in the same movie, and one of the people he plays is awkward and supposed to be ugly, but still attracts the hottest girls. Literally makes no sense, but it's, Robert Pattinson. Mark Ruffalo does his best Trump Elon hybrid impression throughout this movie, and it was super fun to watch, but it does get a little annoying and tiresome at the end, and I can't tell if it was by design or not, but my favorite performance of him as an asshat is still Poor Things. Another thing I liked about this movie was the design of the creepers. It must have been a challenge to make something look scary and lovable at different times, and they found a way to get it done. But with the creepers being a main part of the plot in the second half, on top of the cloning, reprinting foundation that this movie's built on, I do think some people could have found it too weird, or that there was just too many things trying to be addressed, especially if Parasite's the only Bong Joon-ho film you've seen. In comparison, that movie is very contained and grounded in reality. So just very different. Honestly though, I don't even know if we can call this movie fictional with how we're looking at space travel. I can definitely see humans going to another planet, finding some life there, calling them aliens, and exterminating everyone there like Mark Ruffalo wanted to do in this movie. I feel like these days directors come out with movies that are pretty weird and not super polished right after they have their big multi-award winning hit, critically acclaimed movie. And I think that's what this was for Bong Joon-ho. And I think a lot of people will be disappointed that it doesn't live up to the expectations of Parasite or even Snowpiercer. And I think it's unfair for him to be held to that standard for every movie he releases, but it is natural and it is what's going to happen. I feel like Bong Joon-ho still continued to showcase his distaste for capitalism like he does in all his other movies, so it's not like this movie is fully out of place in his filmography. It did feel like Mickey 17 had some unnecessary fat that could have been trimmed, and at the same time, it seemed like too many cuts were made, so the plot wasn't super cohesive. And both of those things just made the movie feel a little bit disjointed. But other than that, I had a blast in the theater. The acting performances, the overall concept of the film more than made up for it. So overall, this movie is going to be a 4 out of 5. Now let's get to my top 5 Robert Pattinson performances. Here are my honorable mentions. First honorable mention, we have Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Robert Pattinson did wonders for Hufflepuff's PR, and he played a great corpse. Shout out to Voldemort for the assist on that one.
Alley-oop to James! Oh!
But it's just tough to make the top 5 when you're not the main character of the movie and you're barely in it. Next honorable mention, I have Tenet. Full disclosure, I haven't seen this movie yet. I was going to watch it before doing this, but it's not on any streaming services right now, and I would have had to sail the 7 seas. But I heard that every time he's on screen in this movie, he steals the show, so I had to shout it out. For my final honorable mention, I have The Boy and the Heron. Robert Pattinson playing the Heron was fantastic and honestly unrecognizable. I didn't even realize it was him till I saw the credits roll, and it's crazy to think that this was his first voice acting performance ever. This would definitely be a top 5 performance, but it's tough to put it up there when it doesn't have any physical component to it. All right, now for my top 5. In 5th place, we have The Rover, Robert Pattinson's first escape from the shackles of Twilight. And it really showed everyone that this guy can really act. It's a post-apocalyptic crime drama where there's not much dialogue, so the acting really matters. And his performance of balancing the bleakness while showing his heart at the same time was terrific. Highly recommend watching this movie if you haven't seen it yet. In the 4th spot, I have Mickey 17. I know we talked about this movie a bunch already, and Robert Pattinson was great in this movie, so I don't really have anything bad to say about the performance. The only thing holding it back is that I think the level of quality for this movie isn't as good as the ones in the top 3. 3rd place, I have The Batman. This would have been higher. Maybe if you walked a little bit faster, it would have cut the runtime in half, and I would have ranked it in my top 2. But in all honesty, Robert Pattinson's a better man than me for not chasing after Zoe Kravitz to Bloodhaven. But that meme is probably true, where as soon as the cameras got cut, he turned his motorcycle around and chased right after her. Probably why the sequel's taken so long to come out. Anyways, I think I'm going to keep this movie ranked 3rd. It's still early in his Batman career, and I think there'll be better performances down the line that'll probably end up cracking top 1 or top 2 performance. Ranked number 2, I have Good Time. This movie is like a shot of adrenaline, and it's a thrill from end to end. Robert Pattinson playing a Queens criminal constantly on the edge of breaking was so well done. I think the bathroom scene and the chase scene, he was incredible. The main reason I have this above the Batman is because his performance is so unique. I think with the Batman, there's a bunch of source material where he could base his performance off of, but this was completely in its own realm. All right, my favorite Robert Pattinson performance has to be The Lighthouse. I think everyone that knows me knows I love this movie, and if this movie has no fans, that means I'm dead. Robert Pattinson fully lost himself in that New England lighthouse keeper role while playing someone who was constantly paranoid, always needed validation from his boss, and was being driven mad. And he did it while being pretty funny throughout this movie. Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe also had perfect chemistry, in my opinion, and the fact that he was able to go toe-to-toe with Willem Dafoe in this is what really cemented him as one of the best actors in the industry. All right, that's my top 5 ranking of Robert Pattinson performances. That's a wrap on this episode. Pocket Watch, episode 4, Mickey 17. Catch you guys next week. See ya.